Hey guys! In today's video, I'll be talking about 7 different common studying mistakes. So for each one, I'll go over what the mistake is, why it's not really the best idea, and what you can do to fix it and not make that mistake anymore. The first mistake is trying to multitask. So this would include watching TV or a YouTube video or listening to distracting music while you're studying. Ultimately, it's not possible for our brains to actually multitask. You might think you're doing both things at the same time, but actually you're just really quickly switching between the two of them. This means you're wasting a lot of time since you're not actually studying for the entire interval that you think you are. And it's wasting even more brain power than if you had just studied and watched TV in 2 separate time periods, since to switch from one task to another there is a switching cost, so you're just wasting your brain power. Luckily, although the solution requires a bit of effort, it is pretty easy, just
turn it off.
Hopefully I don't get copyright striked for putting that little clip in. Anyways, if you absolutely feel like you must have some sort of entertainment going on in the background to get yourself to study, then you can listen to music that doesn't have lyrics so that it won't really be distracting you as much as something else that has words or a storyline that you have to follow. So this could be classical music or lo-fi hip-hop. I have a studying playlist which I will link in the description if you want to check that out. The second mistake is just passively reading your textbook or notes. Reading your textbook or reading other notes is a great way to get information for the first time, but it's not an effective study method for actually memorizing the information. The skill that you need to actually practice is retrieving information from your memory, not just being able to look at it and recognize it. Reading the textbook or notes can also give you a false sense of security. You might think that you know something just because you can see it on a page and think, this looks familiar, I probably know it, but in actuality, you might not be able to actively remember it if it came up as a question on a test. This is especially true for subjects that are more application-based, like math or physics, where you're applying information instead of just memorizing it. The solution to this is to use active learning techniques like practice tests, flashcards, or a lot of different other options. I have a video about the most effective studying techniques, which are mostly based on active learning techniques. I will link that in the cards right now and in the description. The third mistake is studying with only one method or studying with the wrong method. Technically, there are no completely wrong methods of studying, but if you're going to have a free response test and you only do multiple choice questions, it doesn't seem like the best idea. In general, it's not a great idea to only do free response or only multiple choice or only true or false, and the same applies to learning methods, not just question types. Don't only use flashcards or only read your notes. Instead, you should diversify the ways in which you practice the material and assess how well you learn it, so that you'll be prepared to tackle the information from multiple different perspectives. This is especially helpful if you don't know what kind of questions will show up on your test. You'll be prepared for anything that the test possibly could throw at you. In a similar vein, mistake number 4 is studying with only one source of information, such as only the textbook that you get in class or only the lecture notes. Sure, most classes are usually centered around a textbook that you're assigned, or the lecturer will tell you almost everything you need to know in class, but it's still important to get multiple sources to round out all of the information and knowledge that you have about a subject, in case one of them is missing some important information, and so that you can get multiple different perspectives on potentially subjective matters, or to get a better idea of what is the most crucial information from a subject. Mistake number 5 is picking up your phone all of the time. This one is also pretty similar to number 1, which is multitasking. If you keep switching to your phone every time you get a notification, again, you're wasting that switching energy, you're wasting that brain power on switching between 2 different tasks. And there are a couple of different solutions to get you to stop picking up your phone so much while you're studying. One is to disable notifications on distracting apps where you usually don't need notifications. For example, I left notifications on for my texts, since usually people don't text me unless it's a really important matter. On the other hand, for Instagram, which I get distracted by a lot, I have notifications off, since nothing on there really is that essential. Another solution is to set your phone to silent mode or do not disturb. And you can put your phone on the other side of the room from where you're sitting, just to make it extra hard for you to go over and reach for your phone, since a lot of times the laziness of not wanting to get out of your seat overrides the temptation of going to look at your phone. Mistake number 6 is studying things in the wrong order. If you're reviewing for a big test that might cover everything from a whole semester or a whole year, don't just study everything in chronological order, giving the same amount of time and effort to each section. Also, don't waste too much time on studying the easy things that you already know, or the unimportant details that aren't the main idea of the subject or test. Instead of doing this, the solution is to prioritize. You should prioritize 1, the information that's presented as the most important main ideas in the class, and 2, the information that you don't know as well, that you're not as familiar with. The last mistake, number 7, is trying to do a studying marathon, like planning a full 12-hour study day. Pretty much no one can study for 12 hours straight and actually stay focused unless you're some sort of studying superhuman, which chances are none of us are. I'm definitely not. I cannot focus for 12 hours straight. Even if you do end up being able to sit there and study for 12 hours straight, chances are you're not being as focused and effective as you could be. Studying is like a marathon, and it's kind of like running. You should take breaks so that you can be as effective as possible during the times when you actually are working. If you have a lot of material to cover, you should be planning out your studying quite a few weeks in advance so that you're not overloading yourself on any one particular day. I'll have a video about how to plan for final exams, which might give you some helpful tips linked in the description and in the cards. But if you are kind of on a last-minute crunch and you need to get a lot done in a shorter period of time, instead of doing 12 hours all at once, you should break it up. You can use the Pomodoro method, which is 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest, or you could double it with 50 and 10, or any other interval that you want, really. Just make sure you give yourself enough breaks and don't burn yourself out. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any other tips, be sure to leave them in the comments. I upload new videos every Monday, and my Tumblr and Instagram are both at studyquill. See you next time!